Is this thing on? All right, bet. Welcome back, Metashift, to another wonderful cast of the Noble Division. I'm your host, Mackie Mackie. Today, our matchup is going to feature Aram versus Dav, or said in another way, an assembly of really aged men, starting on the blue side today, and Devoid, starting on the red side today. Not super familiar with, I think, Aram, probably the first time I'm casting most of these players, but on Devoid, Killian, Lion of Grotto, Caterpillar for now are some players that we have seen. There's some familiar faces in Metashift and for the stream. So looking forward to seeing these guys taken to the Rift once again in our Noble Division, crucially. We are already in draft, so we're going to be underway talking about some of the things that these teams are prioritizing in our first game of Best of 3 Fearless. The assembly of really aged men does not want to see Neela, specialty pick, Mel, broken, annoying pick. We never want to see this in our games. And since they want to apparently B1 Malphite, are just going to go ahead and get rid of that Silas right away, knowing they want that no matter what. Sometimes when you see something like this Malphite being picked up very early, you're basically throwing down the gambit saying the enemy top laner is really only going to play AD topside fighters that Malphite's good into. And in this case, it seems like the read of the assembly of really aged men was correct. They B1 Malphite, but rather than picking anything that's like really broken in a Malphite, Devoid decided that they're going to go ahead and pick up that Aatrox into the Malphite. Not necessarily a good Malphite matchup, but one that he can certainly survive. Casting our attention back to the ban phase, Devoid also got rid of that Fiora. You know, probably another one of those specialty bans, much like the Neela on the blue side. Viego oftentimes can be one of these comp-defining picks that they're probably removing from Aram's jungler. And Zaheen, apparently enabled for the tournament right now. Champ's very strong, does need a bit of a nerf. And also unfamiliarity plays a big role for this champion. It does have some pretty defined weaknesses, but for right now, Dav is deciding that they are not going to be running with this against the Zaheen or pick it themselves. Obviously, when you're playing on red side, you're much more likely to ban these really OP champions. And so for right now, Zaheen is going to continue to find the ban table. And we'll have to see if Game 2 or Game 3 does show us the new champion. Turning your attention back to the draft. After applying with the Aatrox into the Malphite, Devoid did pick up Kai'Sa, which is synergistic with their namesake. Hopefully we can see some more Void champions just for the fun of it. But Kai'Sa is going to just be something that's very punishable as well, much like picking the Malphite blind, but does feature good flexibility and good playmaking for an AD carry, and they actually are just going for more Void champions. So really enjoying that so far. But Kai'Sa is going to be replied to with a Jinx pick, which does fairly well into Kai'Sa, dependent on the support matchup. Jinx does have an easy time outranging the Kai'Sa, and also just scales very nice for a teamfight potential. I do also like that Aram decided to pick up their Ahri, which is just a really good blind, really flexible mid lane pick that can, you know, move to these side lanes, work with the Malphite's ultimate, work to protect the Jinx to, you know, shelter her weak early laning phase. But Devoid has a nice reply into that Ahri, picking up this Malzahar. I think this champion's very underrated right now. It's very consistent, very strong, very hard to break in lane, and just very nice for pressing R on the Ahri, and no longer her mobility matters, of course. So pretty nice, I think, so far from what Devoid is showing us. We'll have to see how these drafts round out. Looking at the second round of bans, Devoid is going to get rid of that Melio, which can pair so nicely with that Jinx, and also, I believe his ulti can just cleanse the Malzahar R, so really savvy ban right there for Devoid. Meanwhile, Aram going to get rid of that Leona. If Devoid were to pick Leona, something like Braum can be extremely high value for Aram, but not wanting to play that support matchup dynamic, which supports are going to be pretty meaningful in this draft so far. Both these AD carries are so influenced by what the support matchup ends up being. Aram also going to get rid of that Rakan, recognizing that Devoid wants to be able to pick up a nice engaged champ for themselves. Meanwhile, it seems that Devoid is convinced that Aram wants to pick themselves an Enchanter, getting rid of that Karma. But right now, still, the Braum value is through the roof. The Rel value is through the roof for Aram. We'll have to see if they actually decide to pick up the champion, though. Nautilus just creates a nice consistent engage condition. These days in League, not picking those engage conditions sometimes just lands people in such tough positions to be able to actually play out the game the way that they want to. I really do these days like these drafts where there's multiple conditional engages and multiple, maybe just one very hard, reliable engage. But in this case, for Devoid, you know, you have the Malzahar and the Nautilus, consistent engages, and even the Aatrox can create conditional engage opportunities on a flank. For ARAM, all they really have right now is the Malphite to go forward. The rest of their comp is, you know, receiving champions. You know, this Jinx and Braum wants to force the enemy into them and then turn the fight. But these compositions can be a little more challenging to run just because it does require you to know who's trying to soak the first ability and what position do you need to be on the map for your comp to be successful, because you need positional advantage when you are playing the comp that is designed to receive the aggression of the opposing team. In this case, ARAM is going to continue to build on that identity. They're going to pick up that Scion, and that's going to mean that the Malphite is probably going into the jungle. This is, of course, pardon me, something that the Riot Games just modified to be able to make it able to fit in that position. Probably does make it a much more reliable flex pick and makes it much more pickable in these early phases of these drafts. Just because if you do get a really dumpster fire top lane matchup, you know, you just flex it in jungle. And actually, even in this case, from what I've seen on YouTube, Scion has actually been a very strong jungler as well. So depending on what top lane matchup they're anticipating getting, you can just like pick what you want to throw into the jungle. I don't know if our teams actually have to define where which champion is going. I'm checking the in-game chat right now just to see if anybody's asking that question, because the main reason I bring it up is that this Aatrox can also go jungle. Riot just also modified this champion. So he can also just be a flex pick, probably makes Aatrox's draft priority go much higher. That's the thing about when Riot decides to make a top laner. Oh, of course. Sorry, they're asking if I was ready, but of course I'm always ready once the stream has begun, boys. But in any case, that's the big thing when Riot decides to turn top laners into jungle picks. It increases their draftability because it makes it so that they're always able to be flexed into jungle if they get a really bad topside matchup, so long as it is befitting of the composition. So in this case, Devoid has R5, and, you know, just they decided to be clever about this. They're going to flex that Aatrox into the jungle, and I believe send that Singed top. I mean, like, I'm just, you know, thinking through it, because even then, Nautilus also recently got changed that he can jungle a little better. There's just so many like support, fighter, bruiser champions that are getting turned into junglers. That's just making everything in a draft so flexible, just all over the place. But in this case, it should just be Kai'Sa Nautilus bottom, Malzahar mid, Singed in the top side, and then Aatrox in the jungle. What our top lane matchup is, I'm actually not 100% sure. Maybe it's more obvious to anyone who's watching than me, but I'm unsure whether ARAM is going to throw the Malphite or that Scion into the top side, in which they're going to throw into the jungle. So I'll be interested to see that. In this kind of situation, I'd be expecting the Malphite jungle, probably the Scion top going into the Singed. But we'll definitely have to see how those teams decide to shake that out. Looking at the drafts holistically, ARAM is very dependent on this Jinx having a big game. Otherwise, they are going to very quickly find themselves running out of damage. And so you always have to think to yourself, what does Devoid have to be able to make it so that this Jinx is not going to be able to play an easy game? They do have that Nautilus ultimate with Kai'Sa dogpiling on top of it and the Aatrox finding a flank, but there is sufficient peel for ARAM to be able to make sure that doesn't happen and make sure their Jinx is able to be in the positions that she requires in order to be able to carry out these team fights. With that being said, I've offered up my 2 cents. I'm just going to allow these teams to go ahead and pick their champions in client. And as soon as they're ready, we'll be returning with them on the Rift. Thanks, boys, for tuning in to the Metashift Noble game between, once again, an assembly of really aged men and Devoid. Alright, Metashift, we are here on the Rift with the assembly of really aged men against Devoid. Already right away, we're getting the invade from ARAM into Devoid's jungle. Gonna get a little bit of a name check right here. Diagoras, on the top side on the Scion. Malphite, crucially, with the Dark Harvest in the jungle. You know, this guy doesn't know that if he doesn't turn off streamer mode, I don't know his summoner name, so he doesn't get his summoner name read. He's Malphite now. Kylon in the mid lane on the Ahri, 3LF on the Jinx, and Caracas. Braum. Bleeding Wolves on the Singe and the top side. Aatrox also streamer mode. We have no summoner names for our junglers. Just an Aatrox as far as I'm concerned. Killian, as we are so familiar with in the mid lane. Caterpillar for now, we also casted not too long ago, along with the Lion of Grotto on the Nautilus, always playing these engaged champions. Ooh. Diagoras just missing out on that first little Scion Q interaction with Bleeding Wolves. You know, this is going to be one of those top lane matchups that should be pretty low interaction once these guys are able to find their first couple of aces. But in the meantime, in the early stages, the HP thresholds can be low enough for either one of these guys to be able to find a little bit of an advantage. Bleeding Wolves recognizing he's probably not going to need the TP in this matchup because of his vastly superior wave clear and just his ability to proxy and things like this. Just taking the ghost, he's going to be fine with that. Diagoras is going to be able to have that strategic advantage with that TP at some points, but Bleeding Wolves will be able to have that ghost available to be able to be a little bit more of a playmaker as our game progresses here. Always paying attention to the jungle pathing in the early stages. The Trox will be pathing down to this very crucial bot side matchup as we're going to get our first execution from Bleeding Wolves. The bot side Caterpillar for now is going to take a little bit of abuse at getting a full Braum stack done to his health bar. This Aatrox is just being a bit of a nuisance right here, pushing off Kylon, giving Killian a little bit of that ability to be able to find some priority. I am just going to take note of this as well. Sometimes Malzahar can have a lot of these different rune setups, but supposedly this Comet setup, it's pretty powerful for Malzahar. Gives him a lot more trade potential in lane, so he's less bullyable. LF and Caracas are getting some nice priority in the bot side, but you have to be careful about Aatrox, who is going to be finishing up his full clear. I mean, making his way to that bot side scuttle before too long. Lion of Grotto should be able to find a nice engage at any point if he wants it. Of course, engaging onto an exhaust Braum always creates a bit of a suspect situation, but should be manageable so long as they manage their cooldowns well. Lion of Grotto, of course, on the Aftershock and not the Unsealed Spellbook means it is a little easier for him to be able to go forward. But Bleeding Wolves is going to find himself a Malphite in the jungle. He should just be able to flip him away unless the flash from the Malphite is going to finish him off. And indeed, just the red buff from Malphite will be enough to finish off Bleeding Wolves on the top side. We just mistimed his jungle tracking just a little bit. He went to drop that ward, but instead, he's just going to drop down himself. Meanwhile, Aatrox making himself found back on mid lane again. Killian is out of mana now, but was able to drop his full combo. Kylon also just getting taken back by that Aatrox chain. Is going to be going down for the second kill of the game for Killian. Both these junglers just finding themselves a nice, easy gank. Kylon maybe could have lived there if he had used his flash, but in this case is just deciding it's worthwhile to reserve that for whatever play comes next. Although, just a very low cost and very low resource kill for the side of Devoid. Killian and Aatrox are both able to preserve their flashes. Meanwhile, Caterpillar for now needs to be careful. Is eating a lot of Braum Qs and is very low on HP. Very good laning so far from 3LF and Caracas to be putting Caterpillar for now in a very disadvantageous position at bot side. Usually in positions like this, 3LF is just able to tee off. Knowing where the Aatrox is just means that they're able to just walk forward and start pounding on this turret a little bit. Right now they're just using those rockets to be able to find continuous wave clear. Sometimes in these situations, the Jinx will just try to find a very favorable reset timer for themselves and try to transition their lane advantage here into some tempo and be able to secure that first dragon. In other cases, they can just try to force the enemy bot lane to base first. Lion of Grotto there, aware that if they go forward, they are likely just to lose their life to Braum. But you can see right here, the Aatrox is being a little bit savvy about this, knowing the enemy bot lane is basing, are going to start up that dragon for themselves. Malphite not in a position to contest, so in spite of the fact that Jinx did find herself a nice reset here, is not going to be able to use that to be able to transition into a dragon. Meanwhile, Bleeding Wolves needs to be careful. Lost both mobility sums earlier. Wants to be able to take the one-on-one with Diagoras, but instead is just going to get solo killed himself by the Scion. So far, not what you want to be seeing out of your R5 counter pick on the Singe. As the dragon goes down for the red team, Aatrox is going to make his way down here, but at 3LF still has their flash. This actually could just be straight up winning for the side of ARAM. Karakas has flash and exhaust as well, does not use his exhaust properly and loses his flash and his life. His Lion of Grotto is going to be going down, giving the reset over to 3LF, who should be able to get out, but a really nice flash just barely catches out 3LF, who kited a little bit too aggressively right there. And so just very messy stuff back and forth for right now. Top side bleeding, as Bleeding Wolves is having a tough start of it on the 0-3 Singed. However, Aatrox right now able to find himself a very savvy, once again, dragon. Able to just find himself some sloppy kills on bot side. 3LF losing both mobility spells. And the Brutalizer coming in from the Aatrox. This is going to be a very damage-heavy Trox. You can definitely see as we're going to have a little bit of an all-in from Killian. I think Kylon should be okay. The damage from this Malzahar is not too high yet. Kylon also still has that flash and TAP available, so they should be able to just find themselves pretty safe here. Killian is just taking some lane control. Not a lot to be done here. Lion of Grotto is going to make himself out here. Malphite and Aatrox this game are both going for these very damage-heavy jungle builds. Sometimes, you know, this Malphite can go for a little bit more of a survivable setup. You can see more of this, like, Sundered Sky on the Aatrox, but, you know, when you're going for this Brutalizer, you're going for that lethality setup. You're really trying to just murder someone very quickly, which can be tough when you're into high HP targets, but when the Malphite himself is going for basically a full AP Malignance build, you know, it's just a lot easier to be a lethality Aatrox. But all things told, you know, just a very modest advantage over for Devoid. Much of this game, as it continues, will just be focusing on how are 3LF's conditions this game, as they are the primary win condition for the side of ARAM. Aatrox is in that ulti right here, but it's having a hard time actually chewing through all of Diagoras' HP bar. But Bleeding Wolves is here, so they will be going down. Probably not the best flash to be had there by Diagoras. It's just going to be going down to Aatrox once again, who's just continuing on his janitorial duties, picking up as many kills around the map as he wants. Malphite does have the ultimate available, so if Aatrox does try to go for this neutral objective, will not have the ultimate available to be able to actually fight back against this Malphite. Even so, you can see the Aatrox is making their way over to the Grubbies. But the Malphite should actually be fancying himself a fight right now. Kylon and Killian both have their ultimates available as Lion Grotto and Caterpillar for now get busy on the bot side. Lion of Grotto did have the Aftershock popped and the Braum pass popped as the Braum's going to pop with his ultimate. 3LF now fighting back, needs to switch back into that minigun as we have team fights starting on both sides of the map. Malphite is going to get ulted initially, but Killian's going to get stopped by a charm as Kylon now is diving in. At the same time, the Caterpillar for now and Lion of Grotto are fighting to the death against Karakas and 3LF on the bot side. Killian and Bleeding Wolves are now fighting back and forth, trying to finish off Diagoras and Kylon, who is in on top of Bleeding Wolves, but is going to go down to one more grass proc, and now Bleeding Wolves is trying to just poison Diagoras into the ground. One more Q from Scion will not be enough, and now the Singe is so freaking back, boys. Able to find himself a double kill in that very scrappy team fight. And Killian, who initially had his ultimate canceled, is also able to survive that incursion. Lots of chaos on both sides of the map. Trying to think about who even won this bot side. It was so close, it just kind of seems like it was a wash on the bottom side of the map. The extra survivability from Caterpillar for now, probably the thing that made the difference in this bot side fight. It seems like we might get more chaos right now as Lion of Grotto is trying to line up another hook. Caterpillar for now has nothing, and Lion of Grotto will back off, recognizing the Braum has been able to make it back here. Let's check our grubby count. 2 grubs for the blue team is going to be no objective feat going over to that team. Of course, we won't need to be thinking about objective feats for very much longer, as Riot will be getting rid of those. But as it stands right now, the objective's still important to be able to secure those empowered boots. It's do a little bit of a gold check here. See who our front runners are before we get any more action. You see Singe has now just pulled very far ahead of the Scion and lightened that double kill and keeping his CS up in spite of dying a lot early. The Trox, of course, very strong, able to finish off those Mercs as well as the Cyclo Sword. The Mao's able to get to his first item. Kaisa and the Jinx, probably pretty close. The Jinx modestly ahead, has a little bit of that extra stuff in her inventory. And, you know, who cares about supports? They're basically a wash right now. But, you know, the locket is done for the Braum first. The boots being completed for the Nautilus. But it does seem like we are probably going to be finding ourselves another fight in the bot side. This Dragon going to be very crucial for both teams. Both teams thinking about what their engage conditions are going to be here. You have to be thinking to yourself that the Void is in a much more favorable position to actually take this fight. The Malignance is done for the Malphite as our directed camera is keeping us topside. As Diogoras is going to be scrapping it out with Bleeding Wolves who flashes away, recognizing that this Scion does so much damage as now the Malphite goes in, does not get the steal, is not able to finish off the Aatrox either. He's within an inch of his life and is not able to hold on. Lion of Grotto now pushing forward, trying to slow down 3LF who's chasing Caterpillar 4 now. Nautilus now going to get ran down by the Jinx, but he does have Flash, might be able to just get on out of here. The W from the Jinx will not connect, and neither will the Braum Q. This does overall favor, once again, Devoid because they were able to secure that Dragon, which was really the big prize there. Though 3LF and Caracas are now in a pretty good position to be able to harass the enemy bot lane off of this little team fight. It's very important they were able to finish off that Aatrox. If he had been able to really heal off that Q3, it could have been a very disastrous fight for 3LF and Caracas, who are trying to find a way to carry this game. Kellyan now also saying, come on, let me press R, bud. As Kylon is getting away from that guy because his Malzahar damage is no joke at this stage of the game. 3LF probably just wishing they had a little bit more mana for themselves. It's kind of awkward when you're sort of at this point with these items. The Jinx does have a lot of gold, but as a result of spending their extra currency on that pull as well as those boots, does not have the same ability to be able to pump as if they had finished off that Yuntal Wild Arrows. Kaisa, fairly similar position, although a little bit less gold. Caracas, 3LF, just trying to bait as many fights as they possibly can, but Lion of Grotto is pretty savvy, pretty wise to recognize they can't really go forward as they want to. Now 3LF and Caracas are staying, trying to at least make the Kaisa lose a full wave. Bleeding Wolves is no flash from the previous fight, and now Malphite here does have the ultimate once again available. Bleeding Wolves probably will be getting Malphite ulti, but no, just so much move speed with that Ghost as well as dropping his goop means that the Malphite can't press R. So Bleeding Wolves losing another summoner spell, but does waste a lot of time from the Malphite who has camps available. This is giving the opportunity for Aatrox and Kellyan to start making their way into the enemy jungle if they so choose. They are looking for a play as Kylon has ulti. This is most likely not going to work. Kylon now ulting away from the Aatrox ulti. Caracas is now here, and the Aatrox is going to take a lot of damage. This is where the Cyclo Sword might be an issue. The Braum Shield is up. A Flash R from the Malphite is going to be replied to by the Malzahar R. Kellyan, but now is going to be going down as the Malphite might tick down, but it doesn't matter because there's just an overforce from the Aatrox. Caterpillar for now can do nothing for now as Lion of Grotto is also going to go down to Kylon, just getting all the resets. Just have to kind of question the judgment of Devoid right there, why they're thinking an Aatrox is going to be able to actually run down an Ahri with ultimate. They were in such control for so much of this game, but as you can see, just one overextension and one bad judgment call is enough to just swing the gold back in the favor of an assembly of really aged men. Caterpillar for now also maybe just typing, or I don't know, checking his phone because he's just standing there losing his ulti. Was not able to do too much here. 3LF, Caracas are going to be fighting back and forth. Caterpillar for now wants to be able to find a kill. The W is going to be able to find his way past the minions, and Caterpillar for now is going to go down to the Jinx. Probably not a very favorable fight for the Kaisa. Does get some gold, but of course, the Kaisa goes -1. 3LF finds a nice reset, but the Trox is wrapping around 3LF, getting a little bit too greedy here. Malphite with the Malignance is going to be finding the ultimate very shortly. A nice set of traps are just barely not going to connect onto the Aatrox. 3LF is trying to get out, is able to get away from those chains in spite of the Chilling Smite coming down on top of them. Now Malphite is trying to get out, has the ultimate, might need to just burn it to disengage, but is just a little greedy with it. Oh, actually, he used it going in. My bad. Or maybe he tried burning at the end. I'm not even sure right there. But will just be going down because he is just so damn squishy. So the Aatrox and the Nautilus are going to take their consolation prize right there, but 3LF is going to be able to escape with his life. Really wanted to knock over that first turret. I don't know where I can check who's leading for the for the feats right now on my spectate. Let's see. Nope, I'm not sure. But I don't think it's been done yet. In any case, assuming that they're not done yet, and I'm not missing it, that first turret would have gone a long way to being able to secure those feats. Pylon doing a nice job of being able to piece up Killian, who's going to turn around with the Malzahar R. Oh, and the Jinx is going to take it away. You're actually very happy with that if you're ARAM. Kylon might be typing KS in the chat, but oh, -1. But the Jinx is going to be able to find themselves another kill. And of course, like we talked about, this Jinx getting all the money that they can is going to be the crucial thing for ARAM to achieve. But we're all tied up here. You know, it did really feel like Devoid was in control, but after that mid-force, it's already starting to feel a lot more powerful. Kind of concerned about this Malphite's usefulness, though, I suppose, this game. He is just kind of a nuclear bomb, but as soon as he goes in, he will die immediately. Curious to see what else this Malphite decides to build this game. The Braum is going to get engaged on by the line of Grotto, and the door is now going to be down as Caracas took basically no damage there. Line of Grotto doing a disengaging R. Aatrox is trying to help out his boy, but Line of Grotto is going to go down, and now the Braum ulti is going to find the Trox. The Trox is going to get stunned up with one more auto, and now Kylon finding a nice flank right there. No TP necessary. Aatrox is just going to be going down for free, and now the Malphite is going to show off his usefulness. The Dark Harvest is going to be collecting the Kaisas. Bleeding Wolves needs to be careful here about going down himself. Malphite has nothing left to do. He might be ticking down, and that's going to be no smite now available for ARAM. Diagoras is very healthy right here. Can create lots of space for 3LF, but Bleeding Wolves is still trying to hunt for a fling. Killian still has the ultimate available, probably is willing to do a lot. Bleeding Wolves finds a terrible fling, but now Killian's flashing forward, but probably will just be going down to Kylon. That was very messy from Bleeding Wolves and Killian. And that's not exactly the engage they wanted. We're able to take down 3LF, so the advantage for Devoid in this situation is that they have stalled out the Dragon for the previously dead Aatrox and Lion of Grotto to be able to make their way over to this Dragon. A little bit of a miss on that Blast Cone right there for the Trox, but now everybody coming back in with the Hex Gates. We might just be getting a lot more action. Killian as well as Bleeding Wolves making it so that it was at least hard for the side of ARAM to be able to actually just start up that Dragon. It's now 7k. We're going to have to see how much action we're getting. Malphite having the ultimate back up very soon. Lion of Grotto having no ultimate quite themselves. All the ultimate timers are so short as now we're finally get one Dragon back over for ARAM. Malphite just being very clutch with the smite right there, taken away from the Trox. That's probably one of the primary ways that the red team was looking to try to continue to snowball this game. And so that's a very important smite, guys, to be able to take away that third Dragon from the red team. It's really just starting to make it feel like this blue team is going to start pulling away with this game. 3LF going to be very shortly finishing off that Infinity Edge. Right now, you can just kind of feel like the feel of the game definitely is for the blue team, is what I'll say. The way that the fights have been playing out mechanically, the way that the mood of the game is going, as you can see, the blue team is taking their macro, their temporary advantage on the map to take mid-turret and Dragon and now Herald. And you can see that the solo lanes for the red team are splitting out, but Devoid are just feeling like they don't have the ability to be able to actually contest on any of those objectives. This is that mid-game swing where so much can just happen that makes the game feel like it's just suddenly breaking wide open. Definitely having one of those moments right here, but of course the game is not too far gone. We saw the game swing one way. It can definitely swing back the other like a pendulum. But for right now, let's see. This Jinx is able to finish off the Infinity Edge. With that first turret that they received earlier this game, we're able to finish off those feats as well. And so Jinx already having that agility cloak, building into their next item. Trox on 2. Now's on 2. Everybody finishing off their second items pretty quickly here. Caterpillar for now lagging behind a little bit. You know, the crucial thing is always like, what are your item completions? Gold leads are great, but they don't really matter until you finished off an item. And so while everyone's basically around 2 items, the relative power of this game is close. It just depends on how the comp is going to function. And of course, this game still coming down to how well can the red team kill the Jinx, but they're going on the Braum first. 3LF is going to get knocked off. but the Caracas is going to be popping the locket, maybe getting redemption, not able to survive quite, but 3LF now in a beautiful spot to be able to play out this fight. 1 out of 2 out of 3 out of 4, going to take down the Kaisa, and now the Nautilus is going to go down as an afterthought. You know, we saw it right there. 3LF does get Nautilus ultied, but the engage came through on the Braum, which is basically all that you could really hope for as 3LF. They do see Killian right here, who is slowed. I think Malphite's hungry to press the R key, but does not decide to do so. They will simply take the Otacon, and so this is very good from ARAM. The assembly of really aged men using their infinite wisdom to know that you just need to secure themselves these objectives now. You can see just like how it looks when this blue team just knows their identity, just knows the assignment. The Braum just, you know, flashing away, popping redemption, popping locket, making all of the resources being burned to chase him down and try to get that first kill, but it just opens up 3LF to be able to counter the play, and once they get the reset, is able to run away with the fight. At this stage of the game, the red team is starting to consider, how can we find ourselves a pick? You're likely not going to win a team fight at this stage. The Jinx is in a good spot, has plenty of peel from the Scion and the Braum. Your attempts to be able to dive into the backline to kill her have failed. With the Locket and Redemption, pretty unlikely to be able to actually finish off 3LF in a quick fight unless they miss position. So you were seeing how Malphite was just kind of sneaking in behind Kylon there, recognizing that really the side lanes are where teams will tend to try to go for that pick. Diagoras is obviously another one of those options. Killian could be considering going for an R right here, but with no Rylai's Crystal Scepter, not able to quite close that distance. You can see the red team hunting on these side lanes, trying to find a way back into this game. But if the blue team's smart, they should just not give up any kills on these sides and should be able to just transition back into these team fights. Where are my objective timers? I feel like I should have these. Oh, they're in the corner. Oh. Well, let me try shrinking my map a bit. Oh. Actually, we gotta fight first, because Malphite going down here is pretty meaningful, but they just use everything to kill this Malphite who goes into the Zonias. The Ahri should be able to get away. The Malphite's actually able to get their ulti off, and so Kylon now is fighting back onto the Aatrox, who's able to just barely skirt away from Kylon, who's able to also get away from the Nautilus. Bleeding Wolves is now trying to get away themselves. 3LF is in a good spot here, but is going to get Nautilus ulti. Bleeding Wolves is going to get past those Jinx Chompers, and now Caterpillar for now is in a great spot to be able to shut down the Jinx, and they were able to find the pick. The Void is able to start the fight onto the Malphite. They're not quite able to find the first kill for the side of ARAM, and there you go. It just feels like the game is going one way and then it swings back the other. Just a little bit of a misposition overstep into the enemy jungle. It did feel like it was a bit of an overcommitment of resources onto Malphite initially, but the reply was not there for ARAM to be able to finish off that Aatrox. You saw the opportunity, maybe one more auto to proc that Braum passive and then full combo into that first kill, but it didn't happen, and 3LF was not in the position to be able to deal as much damage as they have been able to do in previous fights. So now with 3 dragons on the red team and a little bit of a gold swing, you can breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief as the Void right here, as they are slowly making their way back into the game. Aatrox and Malzahar might get caught out right now. Jinx is going to pull off that spell shield from the Malzahar. Diagoras now going to walk up. Killian for sure going down here to that Malphite with that Dark Harvest and that Malignance. Which is a little bit of a reply kill. Malphite's kind of in no man's land with his build. Does want to try to finish off that Zonia. Is probably going to do it right now. Yeah, just needs a little 450 bump to be able to finish off that item. Gonna be crucial. We did talk about how Malphite just kind of dies after he drops his ulti. Did actually buy them a lot of time with the Malphite being able to pop the Zonias after getting caught out in the enemy jungle. Wasn't even able to get that ulti off, but just not enough because the connection was not there for the blue team. It's so important that when you're going to go for those jungle invades to be able to make sure your team is prepared to be able to react if the enemy team tries collapsing on you, but in that case, ARAM not quick enough to be able to do so. What's up, Andrew? See you in the chat. My dude's subscribing to Metashift for 4 months. Doesn't even give me those subscriptions on my personal, but I love it because I do love streaming for Metashift. It's always a joy being with these guys, streaming these games. Community's always been super fun, so more power to them. Honestly, yeah. The tournament I've been a part of for 2 years now, 2.5 years, has been so much fun as these guys are continuing to set up for what is going to be a cataclysmic team fight that's going to ultimately decide the fate of this game in the first game of our series. Let's do another little gold check right here. See, the Jinx is still pretty far ahead of the Kai'Sa. Kai'Sa not able to quite finish off that third item. The Redemption and the Locket appropriate for the Braum to be able to create as much survivability for this Jinx as possible. You see how careful they're being on this mid wave right here. You need to make sure that this Jinx doesn't get caught up. 3LF does have the Ghost soon. Now here comes the side lane pincer. The Aatrox does a good job of blocking Diagoras, who does flash an ulti away, but now the Aatrox is going to pop their ulti themselves. Would have liked to have seen Aatrox just back away afterwards. The knockup is going to come through. We're going to have to see if there's enough damage here. As the Kai'Sa is here, the Aatrox is going to be going down. Not survivable enough, as now 3LF is able to just come through for an easy play. You know, this is the second time we've seen this for the Aatrox this game. There's an advantage created, but then the Aatrox is just overextending after the advantage has already been gained, such that it allows ARAM to actually be able to reply on the map and just come for easy plays, and ultimately Aatrox committing the mortal jungle sin, dying just before the Baron, outside the Baron, and they're going to be going down, and it's going to be ARAM now able to just collect the Baron very freely, very easily. We're going to have to see how they siege, though. Honestly, in Metashift, we often see teams able to secure this Baron and just not utilize it correctly to be able to actually break the enemy base. Sieging does seem to be sort of a recurrent issue. We'll have to see how ARAM does. Have not actually just watched this team actually play out their late game macro sequences. You have to imagine with 3LF on the Jinx, it should be nice and easy to be able to actually start breaking the base. Cyan is going to be going in right here. Killian does still have that spell shield, not going to get popped. The slow is not going to affect him, so the knockup will not come through from the Scion. Would have been a really nice pick right there to be able to eliminate the only conceivable wave clear that the red team really has. Karakas now finding wards. This is an okay place, but the Jinx is not ready to fight here, so Karakas wisely backing off the play. Bleeding Wolves and Lion of Grotto now making their way into the bot side river. I think it's the Dragon that's going to be the thing that's happening here. I wanted to try to shrink my mini-map before this happens because, of course, the Dragon is going to be so crucial, even with the Baron being here. Kylon now going forward. They need to one-shot this Aatrox before he's able to clear, and now they have been able to. Lion of Grotto now in the middle of the enemy team, as now 3LF is actually going to go down. Who's the damage going to come through for on ARAM? It seems like nobody, as the red team right now seems to actually be able to be successfully winning this fight. Diagoras is really survivable as Karakas is now flashing away. Malphite has no more gas left, as Kylon and 3LF are both dead. There is just nothing left to do for the blue team. It felt like they were so in control right there, but just they commit to the Aatrox. They find the first kill. The 3LF just in the middle of the carnage and the mayhem of the team fight just gets killed by everybody diving in on top of them. And like we talked about in pregame, if the Jinx is not alive, this composition cannot thrive. So now Malphite just trying to be in a position where they can go for potential steal onto this Drake, but Bleeding Wolves wise to his shenanigans. Malphite should be going down here. Let's see what he does. Not just all over the wall to look for a Hail Mary steal, but no, is just going to be the Soul going over to Devoid. It's going to be a huge bump in power for this team right now. It did definitely feel like the momentum of the game was going in favor of ARAM, but with the Hextech Soul being secured, everything seems like it might have changed. Though, you know, all these team fights are still going to come down to the same thing. Can the Jinx survive everybody diving in on top of them? In that situation, it just wasn't a thing. I really did think that there was going to be enough for this Braum to be able to make sure that this Jinx can't die. Maybe a Knight's Vow for the Braum could be something appropriate to try to create a little more survivability, but just seems tough. Maybe a QSS is necessary for the Jinx. Or maybe we just need to see positioning. You know, the thing that ARAM ultimately could have done in that situation is just try to use their Baron to force the enemy team out of their position in the river, play on their conditions, but decided to just commit to the fight, wanting the enemy team to even have an opportunity to be able to smite down that Dragon, but losing the team fight as well as the Dragon and their Baron just means that they lose all the momentum. Of course, they didn't necessarily siege, but we just talked about it. You know, so many teams that get the Baron, and then they just don't get a chance to use the Baron in a way to be able to break the enemy base. You know, all these tier 2 structures are still up for Devoid. That would have been so much gold going into the pockets of ARAM, but instead, you know, this game has just been so back and forth. This lead's being thrown back and forth between these two teams. Now Kylon might get caught out. We'll have to see the Aatrox overextends one more time. Does not get caught out by that charm. Kylon drifting back and forth, not quite being caught out by the Aatrox. Does find a nice little charm on a Bleeding Wolves who wants to go forward, seeing that Kylon has no more Ahri ultimate stacks. Aatrox now trying to finish her off with that Cyclo Sword. Is able to barely kite out that Aatrox, doing such a good job. I mean, guys, I feel like it's been the same story the entire game as Lion of Grotto now is caught out in the middle of the enemy team. 3LF will be able to find that reset. Now's ulti has been used on the Scion. Caterpillar for now has nothing to do because he's just going to be going down. Killian's going to be getting stunned. Guys, I mean, like, it's just the same thing. The Aatrox dives forward, and then just there's a free reply for the blue team. They just run away with the team fight. Or the red team engages onto the Jinx, they kill the Jinx, and the team fight is over. It's just been a back and forth story of the same things happening, deja vu style for these two squads. With that, obviously, we're late game, level 17 Jinx with the Get Excited passive. It's just going to be all these structures going down in a hurry. There might be still an opportunity for the red team to be able to hold this. We'll have to... Oh, it's 3... That's tough. That's tough. We also lose our flash for that. Look, you guys just saw what I saw. They got a little too excited to be able to knock out those structures. So we're going to play on here. That's the kind of moment I'd expect some sort of reaction from someone in the chat, but yeah, it's okay. We're all lurkers. We're all just watchers from the shadows. And 3LF will be reliving that moment for the rest of his days as far as he's concerned with these teammates. Diagoras just trying to mentally recover from that mistake. The red team posted up in the jungle, wants to be able to start getting ready for this next Baron that will be spawning soon. Malphite's going to walk directly into them. Karakas is here, though, could defend him. Everybody could get caught out here as Aatrox is going to initiate the fight on the Malphite. There needs to be the collapser now. 3LF has no flash. They're in a tough position. They want to be able to DPS, though. Malphite's going to be going down soon. Pops Azania's 3LF now able to DPS freely. Kylon also able to just dive in. 3LF is just free hitting on whoever he wants to. Killian now needs to be able to find a good ultimate here. A nice Hex Tech proc from him is going to be so valuable. Can they find the kills for 3LF? He's so low. Kaisa gets caught by the Chompers trying to ult in on top of the Jinx. That could have been the end of the game, but those Chompers just catching Kaisa as they're going in. But it should be Caterpillar for now, and Killian able to very easily finish off this Baron. It seemed like a very good fight for 3LF, but just not quite having the time to be able to drop all the damage they needed to be able to win the fight, but able to actually still survive because of those Chompers means that the blue team will live to fight another day. Kylon not going to be able to do anything here. As that ultimate soon, if they're able to find some kills on the red team here, it could be a massive swing, but Kylon needs to be careful. Really good damage from 3LF right there with the Jinx ultimate, but I just think that the red team is going to get on out of here, especially with those Hex Tech slow procs. Such a close team fight right there. The red team being very smart and proactive about how they initiate those fights. Once again, it seemed like it might have been really good for ARAM. Everything being used onto Diagoras and Malphite, but Killian coming in a little late there. You actually see so much Malzahar damage, just making such a big difference, chewing through that front line early in that fight. Jinx probably going to go try to finish off this BT right here. Or Guardian Angel. Probably Guardian Angel, I would think. Let's see. Yeah, Guardian Angel. I like this a lot. Going to give a chance of redemption in a fight if they blow everything to kill the Jinx initially. We're at that stage of the game. It's about the Jinx. Kylon now going to find a little bit of a proc onto the Singed. Malphite now going to be fishing for their engage. There's a lot of targets that the Malphite could choose to go for. Really, the most important thing in a team fight for ARAM is just to maintain their fight lines. If they can maintain a good structure to the fight, this Jinx should be able to eventually kill anything in front of them. You get a little bit of mid priority. That wave is pushing in for the blue team. Really good early macro for the fight. Lion of Grotto now looking for their hook. Wants to not get caught out. Bleeding Wolves also needs to be careful. Chompers in the choke is going to sustain the position of the blue team just a bit for now. No knockouts coming in from the Scion. Everybody is just playing in the neutral back and forth. Blue team now tanking up the Elder Dragon as the Trox wants to try to keep it leashed. 3LF trying to be careful about being engaged on or flipped into the wrong spot. Bleeding Wolves has that flash. You know there's only one champ in his eyes right now. Is mispositioning 3LF so that way they're not able to have a good Guardian Angel position. The TP is going to come in from the blue team. Malphite's going to go in, I think, and miss everybody. They just want to delay the bases right now as Kai'Sa's going to be able to find that Baron recall. 3LF does get flipped into the team. Let's see how much damage they're able to get done. Aatrox is now resetting. The blue team is in the enemy base, though. This is a wash for the red team, but the Kai'Sa was able to get back, but it's going to eventually just be ARAM able to, excuse me, TP into the enemy base, and it's going to be enough. The Baron recall from the Kai'Sa was not enough to be able to actually defend the base. What a wonderful play from the blue team. I called it out. You know, it was 3LF taking that little moment to just rocket the mid wave. Recognizing the team fight might be a little bit tough, just having the presence of mind to make sure you're pressing that mid wave, and then the blue team just sees their opportunity. We don't even need to win the team fight. Let's just send it with the TPs in their base. This team fight be damned. We will just win with a backdoor. And honestly, with how back and forth this game was, there's no more appropriate way it could have ended. The first game going over to the assembly of really aged men, once again using their such seasoned wisdom to be able to use their macro to win that game. Gonna get ourselves a little bit of a post-game damage check right here. These guys are always pretty much ready to transition into the next game immediately. I still got some dog pictures on here, but don't worry about those. That's from my other co-hosts and casters from a previous stream. I'll get those fixed up another time, but for right now, 3LF, you know, topping the damage charts, doing what he has to do for the boys. Honestly, though, at the end of the team fight there, my boy Andrew, who's in chat, often says, you know, the AD carry is there to absorb cooldowns and attention, not to deal damage. They're there to absorb the cooldowns and die and make space for the rest of the team that way. Obviously a joke, half the time, but not all the time. 3LF still doing their duties, though, as the rest of the team finishes things off. It's a really crazy game, honestly. The Void finding lots of ways to be able to fight back into that game in positions that didn't seem like they'd be able to. So excited to see who's going to be able to take it in game 2. Game 1 of Fearless is complete. I'm going to be getting us set up for the second draft in the second game. I'll be right back. Welcome back, Metashift. We are here for Game 2 draft between Devoid on the blue side. Excuse me, still getting over a cough. Devoid on the blue side and an assembly of really aged men on the red side. Game 1 was absolute cinema, as we love to say. I'm anticipating Game 2 being no different. They've even offered a reverse sweep just for the viewers' enjoyment. You know, I don't know if they'll actually hold true to that or not, but you never know. Could get a little crazy with this Noble series that we got going on. In any case, got our initial bans coming through. A lot of familiar faces from the first draft. The Fiora and the Viego still being closed. A lot of times teams for the first couple of games will keep the same things closed because they don't really want to see them regardless. But one of the things that might change was Zehen. I believe it was actually Devoid who banned it the first game because they were on the red side. This time, ARAM is going to be the ones banning away that Zehen, not wanting it to be picked up immediately by Devoid. Mel also, I think, was closed the first game. This champ's just really good right now. They are considering it, though. Also, I don't believe Gwen was closed the first game. Probably something that's being early banned just because on R3 you can pick something like the Gwen. And also, like I said, with Riot turning every top laner into a jungler, champs like this have a lot of flexibility. If you don't like your top matchup, send a jungle. Averted lane phase entirely. The Mel will continue to be closed here. I'll have to see if ARAM was thinking about leaving it open in favor of something else. I did like the first game draft quite a bit from Devoid. Honestly, both drafts were pretty solid. Playable. Good identity. In this case, Devoid going to be going for that Wukong on B1. This champion was like really, really high priority a couple of months ago. It just was conceived as the strongest jungler in the game. I feel like people kind of forgot about it. Just kind of stopped prioritizing it. I'm not sure why. But still a very good champion to be able to pick early in the draft and be able to construct a cohesive draft around. So just a very consistent early piece being picked up by Devoid. Meanwhile, ARAM going for the Yunara. I do like Yunara because of her ability to be able to have, pretty high auto range in lane. Keeps it pretty safe. She doesn't have fast trades, but if you're able to elongate a trade, is really good. Has great scaling. Solid champion overall. Has pretty flexible pairings as well with both engaged supports and enchanters alike. We'll have to see if they decide to go for their AD carry support pairing just out the gate here. But instead, ARAM is going to be considering what they want to do for the reply into the Wukong. Going to be going for the Jarvan. I generally, personally, don't like picking Jarvan this early, blind like this. I think it creates too many opportunities for the opposing team to be able to pick things that are pretty good into the Jarvan. It's not that Jarvan's not able to function into high mobility champions. He still definitely can have value. It's just much harder for him to be able to do so. But crucially, things like that have already been taken away. And as we get longer into Fearless, or deeper into Fearless, I should say, there's more ways of being able to... there's less champions that you can pick to be able to get away from the Jarvan. One such champion that is able to deal with Jarvan pretty well is Ziggs, my favorite champion. Really excited to be seeing him here. Does have a pretty good matchup with Yunara. Is able to control her space really well. Really consistent into any lane matchup. One of my favorite things about him. And is able to get away from the Jarvan, crucially. His W is such high value into Jarvan. Can break him out of his EQ. And can also just pop out of that Cataclysm nice and easy. I don't know if Ornn E can just break the wall of the Jarvan. I would imagine he can, because he's supposed to be able to break player-made terrain with his E. Not 100% sure, but either way, regardless of that specific interaction into the Jarvan, is just kind of a strong, consistent top-side, weak-side champion. Definitely creates like a strong scaling potential with his items, really good gank potential, and honestly, he's very bursty, very magey in lane, so he can actually give a lot of top laners more problems than you'd expect him to. However, if this Vladimir does go top lane, Vlad can usually just kind of coexist with the Ornn without having too many problems, unless you're very wise to when your all-ins are with that Ornn. It can also be really hard to be able to find actual active grass procs with him, and can just make the Ornn feel a little bit, like a wet noodle in lane. But we'll have to see what they actually decide to do with this Vlad. It is a pretty flexible champion. It has been gaining some popularity recently as well. I do like it into Ziggs. Ziggs has a pretty hard time dealing with this champion in particular. Overall, the composition from Devoid is looking very standard, very strong. ARAM still needs a couple of pieces to be able to round out what they got going on here. Probably the Jarvan's not going to be consistent enough engage. I think you'd like to see a little bit more utility to create a little bit more chaos for this Vladimir to be able to find a nice flank. I'm very interested to see what ARAM's take is on what they want for a support with the Yunara. You know, the Nautilus is out. That'd be a great pick here. Ziggs can struggle against that, and it sets up the Yunara pretty nicely. Yunara is mostly just worried about getting poked out of lane right here, maybe full comboed if like Devoid decides to go for a Leona or something. ARAM, meanwhile, eliminating some of the things that they're expecting to see on mid, anticipating the Ziggs going bottom, Yone being taken away, great pairing with the Ziggs, Aurelia being taken away as well. But honestly, with Wukong Ziggs, you can kind of pick anything on mid, and your damage typing is still kind of okay. Devoid, meanwhile, eliminating Syndra, which they're anticipating ARAM picking. I don't think they'd pick Syndra here, but, you know, their choice. And also going for the Karma. Karma, I think, yeah, pretty good with the Yunara overall. Does a good job of empowering the Vladimir to get in there. Nice Enchantress scaling too, just massive shields in the mid to late game. Going for the Alistar is interesting. It does fulfill some of that, as I said, conditional engage. One of the big things about Ali in a game like this is that he has two ways of being able to disrupt the Ornn ultimate. He also has a couple of ways of being able to make sure that the Wukong isn't easily able to get in on the Yunara. Ali is just an amazing peel champion. Kind of doubles as engage, short as it may be. But really, I think Ali continues to thrive the most when he's able to just kind of chill on his carry and prevent the enemy team from doing what they want. He feels really good for that sort of thing. Devoid is going to go for this Tristana. What's interesting, again, is that the Ziggs could go mid. I think ARAM was anticipating the Ziggs going bot lane, which is why they banned Aurelia Yone. But both these champions are pretty interchangeable. You can see them both in either lane. Just kind of depends on what support they decide to go for here into Alistar. Poppy. I really like Poppy here. I think this champion is so demonic when it's in a good spot. And it's great in Jarvan, great in Ali, even good into Yunara with her ultimate flip. So this Poppy will, of course, be going down into the bot side. The question is with what? I think which one is going to go pair with that Poppy will just depend on what the mid matchup is probably looking like. Ori's nice. Ori can struggle a little bit into that Wukong Ornn, but when you see like these Roa Phase Rush Orianna builds, you can't really one-shot her with the engage you have here. And it's very suspect to actually try to dive in on top of this champion. I do like Ori here, though. I think that's pretty solid. Pairs with the Jarvan well. And creates pretty nice utility that prevents the enemy team from being able to too freely take space with like this Wukong Tristana combo. Just taking it in for a second. I feel like this has actually been a pretty good couple of games for drafting counters back and forth between these two teams. I think in a lot of games you can kind of really feel like one-side drafting, but I think both these teams have been pretty thoughtful, at the very least, about how they're going about drafting these compositions. And we will see before too long where some of these champions are going to be ending up. I think it should be Ziggs into Ori, realistically. I think that matchup's good for Ziggs, and I don't think Tristana's too stressed about playing into Yunara Alistar. And Ziggs is not like Poppy's favorite pairing either. I think a big thing for ARAM as well is the fact that this Vlad should be able to find himself a pretty free game. Things that he has to worry about when he's going to be trying to go in on top of the Ziggs and Tristana will mostly just be that Poppy ultimate. You know, Ziggs W can be a little problematic for him. But aside from that, he does actually have a pretty nice position in this game, I think, this game. Going to be able to lane pretty freely into the Ornn. Only really one or two major spells he has to worry about for disengaging him, like including the Tristana R. Has pretty good targets to be able to pick and choose, and it's not countered too hard by the Poppy. The Jarvan, on the other hand, should be struggling quite a bit this game. He's countered by multiple spells on the opposing team. And doesn't really have any good targets, honestly. But the carries are positioned pretty well to be able to play for ARAM. Alistar and Jarvan are just going to have a hard time finding dives, but if they're able to comfortably engage onto the enemy front line, Yunara and Orianna controlling space should have pretty good DPS, and Vladimir is always going to be a big threat. Meanwhile, cluing in a little bit more onto Devoid's composition, it's going to be a lot about this Poppy and how they're able to control space. How the lane phase really goes for this Tristana Yunara. We do see like a lot of really heavy trading in the first game. And it was ARAM's bot lane that was able to come ahead there, but like, you know, later game team fighting, Caterpillar for now did pretty well in a lot of those fights. There's that one fight where they could have just outright won the game if they didn't get caught by the Jinx Chompers when they went for that Kaisa R. But we'll have to see how this lane phase plays out. It's definitely a bit of a different dynamic. Both Poppy and Ally have more similar identities in their ability to be able to just control space. It is similar in the sense that, you know, Braum wants to receive the aggression of the Nautilus, and Poppy kind of wants to do something similar with Ally, but Ally is much more content than Nautilus, just kind of chill out. Very classic stuff from Devoid's composition overall, though. We used to see a lot of Tristana mid, Ziggs bottom, when AD carry mid was really powerful. And one of the big things for this composition was always that it destroys turrets so fast. And we also would sometimes see it just paired up with things like this Wukong. If they get just a little bit of tempo on the map, they can just one-shot turrets and just like really start taking control of the map and finding a lead that way. So that's one of the really enjoyable things about this composition. And overall, it just scales so well. Ziggs does have just continued damage scaling through zone control later on. Wukong loves finding his items, Ornn loves upgrading everyone, and Tristana gets so much range. But yeah, now I'm just kind of train of thought thinking about these two compositions. I do kind of like what they both set up for themselves this game as I check myself on Twitch chat now. Yeah, the Poppy pick is definitely really good here, Andrew. For sure. The only thing it doesn't really break is Vlad and Ori, but it's so good as far as its ability to be able to deny Ally and Jarvan from being able to pick the fights they want to, which is the big thing about it. That being said, both the teams are fully picked their compositions in client. I'm going to get us transition there now. And we are about to begin our spectator delay. Once that is done, I will be right back with all you guys. Once again, this is Metashift's Noble Division, an assembly of really aged men, having won the first game on the red side this game, and Devoid on the blue side this game, seeking their redemption. I'll be right back. Oh, and of course, I'm your host, Mackie. Thanks, guys. Welcome back, Metashift. Standard little 5-point from both teams. Nothing too crazy like last game with the level 1 invade. A little bit of a rune check here, looking for anything out of the ordinary. 2 phase rushes on Diagoras and Kylon. But expected, of course. Line of Grotto. Noticeably going for that Unseal Spellbook, which was absent in the previous game. You'll often sometimes see like Alistar go for Unseal Spellbook in this matchup as well. One big thing is I really did anticipate Caterpillar for now taking the Tristana in this matchup, but instead Killian is going to be taking it mid lane. Taking a look at that Tristana matchup, press the attack plus Ignite is going to create a lot of threat on the Kylon until Kylon is able to start finishing off some of those. Oh, also let me zoom out a little bit. So Kylon is able to actually start purchasing some of that HP. And once they're able to get that Roa and stuff like that, they'll be pretty hard to one-shot for stuff like Killian and Wukong diving on top of them. Should still be a pretty chill matchup for the Ziggs overall. I mean, honestly, Poppy Ziggs does pretty well here just because they can play very forward, recognizing that it's very hard for Ally to be able to reply, charging into Poppy's W. And as I said, Caliper for now on the Ziggs does a pretty good job of controlling the space of 3LF. I'm just very interested in Killian on mid because PTA and Ignite is a very aggressive early setup for that Tristana. Interested to see even what they're going to itemize. It can just be kind of tough for Tristana in the early going here. She's a little bit weaker than she used to be back when she was just like the dominant mid laner for such a long time in the game. And Orianna can oftentimes bully her pretty substantially though. With the recent changes to Orianna, just in the way that people build her, not sure that phase rush Orianna with like the Roa is able to bully her in the same way that she is sometimes able to do. I also thought, you know, Bleeding Wolves might actually go for a different rune here. As Caracas goes forward, Line of Grotto probably not having that W quite yet. Gonna flash away, 3LF thinking about flashing forward. I like the discipline right there from 3LF, just, you know, being patient, taking the advantage, and not overextending, so important. Last game did really feel like a story or overextension from the jungler of the Void. Really ultimately the thing that cost him the game in the end. Close knockup for Bleeding Wolves is now Killian is going to take that initial trade on the Kylon. We're going to keep our eyes right here. You can see in spite of Killian, you know, having this very aggressive early setup, but pretty even with that trade into Kylon. But Killian having this Ignite now might be fancying himself another opportunity to jump in. As Caracas flashes forward, is not able to find that W because, as you can see, Poppy just presses W and Ally W don't work. You have to be so fast with that combo to actually be able to knock her back. Killian now going forward, not quite able to pop. A is able to pop that Ignite, but you can see it doesn't have the same damage that Tristana mid once did. Even so, Kylon is so low right here, but both junglers sniffing around mid, knowing that there's blood in the water. The Jarvan has flash, wants to go in on Killian. Killian doesn't even have their W yet. It's like a 25-second cooldown early in the game. And right now, the spectator's showing me top, but I want to see mid. Killian is just able to hop away. Jarvan not able to close the distance before Killian's jump comes back up. However, very crucially, Kylon is now going to be able to find himself a nice, safe recall. We'll be able to TP back and be feeling good about this. This is typically when Tristana will lose a full wave, particularly if Jarvan is able to stall Killian's recall. And you can see right now, Jarvan is just trying to make Killian's life hard. Killian just wants to be able to push out this wave and get the hell out. But Jarvan right now, you know, spending some time just making sure that Killian's conditions are bad rather than doing his own camps. So, you know, just stalling this right here means that Kylon, rather than pushing and making the Tristana miss a wave, he's just going to do it a different way. There's so many minions right here that the Tristana should be just missing a wave as a result of all of these blue minions killing all these red minions. And it creates a nice safe spot for Kylon to be able to farm, especially in light of the fact that they have no flash right now. So good, smart stuff from the assembly of aged men. I kept calling them old men. Tried to do that a little bit with that. Just once again showing some pretty savvy stuff right there. Orianna going for that tier in the early game. Could just be that Roa Archangel setup that we have come to be so accustomed to with the Orianna. You see already this Negatron cloak being completed from Bleeding Wolves before he even has to go for a recall. Krakus is able to find a little go-ahead right there, but not going to do too much. Red Ping's coming out on the Wukong. They are aware of him. Often this Wukong doesn't really want to do too much until they have their Triforce done. They just have a small lead onto Jarvan 4 right now as the Poppy does go in for a little trade. Karakas is able to go in after that Poppy W has expired. You can see it, Caterpillar for now so comfortably able to just W away. Now 3LF taking a lot of damage, needs to be kind of careful. Both junglers now on bot side. 3LF has that barrier, wants to bait. Lion of Grotto, Caterpillar for now going forward. Wukong not able to find 3LF. 3LF has barrier that's not going to be able to ever kill right there. Now Poppy is going to be going down unless Poppy's just too tanky, too fast, too furious, is going to be able to get on out of there. Jarvan now going to go forward. Oh my god, you saw it right there. The Ziggs W blocking the Jarvan engage. And a double kill coming through from Wukong. He'll be typing worth in the chat as he goes down to the turret. Caterpillar for now going to be trying to finish off the Jarvan. Needs to be able to land this Q. Oh, okay. Caterpillar for now. Wonderful job with the W. Putting the E on the ground to make sure that the Jarvan can't turn. And just sniping at the Jarvan with the Q. Jarvan holding the flash. Thought he had the movement. The Caterpillar for now has got the bomb zone flowing through him right now. Great job from the blue team winning out on that initial skirmish in the bot side. Got a chat, Dad Void. Is this not the Void? Is that not this team? The Diddy Survivors who I casted last week. Is this the same team? Well, I didn't get full names today. Look, if I was misinformed about what team this is, I can only do so much. Dad Void. Hold on, let me check Discord as these guys are playing. All I got for the teams that were scheduled today was DA versus ARAM. I know this is the Assembly of Really Aged Men for sure. Confirm that. I don't know who DA is though. The Void is a Diamond team. The Diddy Survivors is a Noble team. I just thought when I was pinging in the Noble chat that the Void was also a Noble team. So is this the Diddy Survivors? Is this who I casted last week? Because if that's the case, I'll switch up my scoreboard and stuff between games. But also, I just would like to refer to them correctly if that's the case. Alright, my bad, guys. I mean, my bad. I just didn't know. So apparently not Devoid. This is the Diddy Survivors, but all the players are the same. Thanks for letting me know in chat. If we do go to Game 3, I will update that. I know I recognize these names. So yeah, I might have... Maybe should have caught that, but we are where we are. I'll fix that up when I get the chance. Thanks for letting me know in chat, like I said. In any case, blue team, the Diddy Survivors, doing a really good job of winning out on that early play. Now we're going to see a line of Grotto stuck in the Cataclysm underneath the turret. This early swap right here didn't actually catch why. Diagoras is going to be going forward, has that empowered Q coming through soon. Caterpillar for now, almost able to connect on that Steph Curry Q right there. Karakas now going to flash forward. Should be able to set up. Oh my god. Caterpillar for now is just owning Jarvan as Diagoras is going to be trying to find that next kill on the Caterpillar for now. And they are eventually going to be able to find it. Now Killian's going forward. Killian ultied minions. So that's really not what you want to be seeing there. Going to be getting a little bit scrappy between these two teams. Checking chat. Yeah, I will just blame Metashift. Although, if y'all could just, type cool names in scheduling, that'll make these easier for me too. It was hard for me to verify today. You got Assembly of Really Aged Men, red side, the Diddy Survivors, blue team. Okay. 3 left might get Poppy stunned right here. The line of Grotto was a little slow. 3 left is going to be going down. Line of Grotto is able to get outside of turret range. Caracas now, is this going to be under turret by his lonesome? Oh, wow. Caracas actually able to kill Wukong because that turret was just so heated up right there. Caterpillar for now trying to get away from the Jarvan. Really scrappy back and forth game right here. Line of Grotto maybe able to tank up one more turret shot before he got out, but all things considered, good kill. Caterpillar for now being such a beneficiary of everything that is happening on the map right now. 3 kills, having that Ludens done already. This guy is hungry to start cracking down turrets for the Diddy survivors. I think something I did not consider this game is that Bleeding Wolves being able to fully itemize magic resistance to match either solo laner actually will make this Ornn pretty threatening in the side lane for both Diagoras as well as Kylon. You can see he's already basically able to entirely avoid or ignore Diagoras. I was also curious to see if Killian would be trying to itemize that Collector in the early stages. Just going to be going for that Yuntal, favoring a little bit more of that scaling potential. Lethality on this Jarvan. This guy just loves going for these like lethality fighter picks. I think it was the Diddy Survivors jungler who played the Aatrox last game. It's just interesting to see these fighters going for like Cyclo Sword and Profane Hydra for these fighters like that they pick into the jungle. Caterpillar for now probably wants to play very aggressive, doing a good job once again of controlling 3 LF space. The Caterpillar for now is trying to get a little bit low on HP. Needs to be careful about getting too low before that TP comes back up. Wukong now wants to go in, is going to pop that ultimate, and now Kylon is not going to connect on the Tristana, who jumps in just in the perfect timing. And you can see how squishy this Jarvan is. A wonderful 2v2 for the Diddy survivors. Wukong and Killian able to win out on that mid 2v2. So far, Kylon not survivable enough to be able to survive the Wukong, finding that angle. A really nice job. Really good patience from that Wukong to be able to time that engage in reply to what Kylon and Jarvan were also trying to do at that same time. We'll have to see if it creates a space that Wukong requires to be able to actually start taking this dragon, though. The conditions of 3 left as well as Caracas are a lot better here to be able to make their way over to this dragon. Caterpillar for now has no mana, so really does not want to be involved in this fight. Killian is making his way over, also low on resources, but Wukong with that Triforce was able to get that dragon down pretty quickly. But Caracas might fancy himself an engage right here as Jarvan has found his way into the fight. Wukong wants to find a way out of the pit, but it doesn't matter because Line of Grotto with a really nice Poppy ultimate is going to send them packing, and that's going to be the Diddy survivors able to find another nice early game skirmish for themselves. You can see Bleeding Wolves just walking forward, pushing the wave, getting a demo proc, no cares in the world. Eating every empowered spell from Diagoras, but does not really seem to mind. Everything really so far going the way of the Diddy survivors. Caterpillar for now popping that Aegis off of Caracas, who goes forward. Poppy not having W apparently. Jarvan now could look for the ulti, but doesn't have it quite yet actually. A really big Ziggs ulti comes through, but a really nice locket from Caracas means that the turn from Caterpillar for now doesn't matter too much. Real Life wants to find their turn, but needs to be careful of getting stunned up by Lion of Grotto. So far, Caterpillar for now and Lion of Grotto doing a really good job of fighting back in that 2v3. Can they get back over to the turret before it goes down? It does seem like they should be able to. Caterpillar for now has a next rotation of spells. Caracas could die here. Lion of Grotto pops heal, thinking about going back in right here. First turret actually going over to the side of the assembly of really aged men. Surprising there. I think that might have been boot feats, or maybe this first turret, as Kylon takes a full charge from Killian, who's finding himself to be a little bit more bold. Really surprised to see first turret not going to the Ziggs team, especially considering how strong the Ziggs has been after this early game. But really good from this Wukong to have the presence to go for that Herald on top side. Line of Grotto able to find the stun right here. Honestly, 3 left, going to actually die to Ignite right there. Really good stuff. The reply from Caterpillar for now and Lion Grotto, getting that play back for the Survivors as Bleeding Wolves is now going to look for that all-in opportunity. Yup, that's always the problem with Orin. Orin just has so much burst with the double brittle proc. Meanwhile, on mid, Killian going to be able to go forward on a Kylon, find the solo kill. The PTA Ignite paying off. Bot turret breaking, top turret breaking, mid turret breaking. The Diddy Survivors are just absolutely running away with this game right now. These guys are going to get paid, or have been paid, but they're going to just be so spiked as soon as they get these recalls off. 3LF just probably popping that ulti out of frustration on the Unara. Just hasn't been able to do too much in the game so far. When you're playing against Ziggs, you feel so nullified as a marksman until you actually get to the teamfight stage. And when the Ziggs is this far ahead, it just feels like if you ever try to go forward, you just lose all your HP before you get to even auto-attack. Also, had they used that Herald anywhere near the Tristana or the Ziggs, could have just been like an entire set of turrets on any side breaking, but using at least that Herald to be able to chunk out that top tier 2. As soon as Tristana or Ziggs gets near it, we'll be able to collect on that gold. Honestly, not really sure what the Assembly of Really Aged Men are going to be able to do to be able to find a way back into this game. Just seems very hard. They're very far down. This does not feel a lot like last game, where in spite of one team feeling advantaged, they were able to feel at least like they were close. Right now, game is not feeling particularly close. Both of all the lanes really have just been completely opened up by today's Survivors. As I pause and consider what I just said. You can see that's a collateral feud. That Lunens just does so much of 3LF, and now the Lion of Grotto can be able to play so freely right here. Killian now also able to just jump freely in on top of the Vladimir as the Wukong comes through. 3LF is just popping the barrier to try to get out now. Caracas is going to be getting knocked back, tries to get out, but not going to be able to. Even with 70% DR, Ali is going to be going down. As you can see, Bleeding Wolves is a tank, mage, fighter, assassin on the top side on the Ornn. Though he's going to be tanking up a lot of turret shots, it doesn't matter. Kylon can just entirely ignore him. You can see Kylon is just question mark pinging. What is this champion? Well, this is what happens when you are playing Ornn into double AP solo laners. This guy just picks up a Rukern and he does not care anymore. Killian now working with Lion of Grotto and Wukong to be able to start cracking on these bot lane tier 2s. Diagoras is going to be trying to fend them off, but will not be able to, as Jarvan is going to try to find a little bit of revenge on top side, is able to shut down the Ornn, but, you know, not going to get him close enough to any item that's going to feel like it's going to make a meaningful enough difference now. The Day Survivors obviously will have to wait to be able to collect these dragons, but how powerful their position is, and once again, with such a strong turret-breaking comp, they could probably accelerate this game pretty nicely for themselves. Has 3 grubs as Tristana Ziggs, like, feels so good to be a Ziggs and Tristana when you have a jungler who's able to win those top side objectives, those grubbies and that Herald. The hopes for ARAM probably just resting with that Vladimir, maybe finding some items. Again, he's kind of the champion that really is able to maybe be most successful in a team fight against this composition, but, you know, it's going to be a long time, and it's tough, you know, especially because the blue team can fight on their own conditions when they're just winning every single side lane. You know, this Ornn is just so unassailable for either of these mages to be able to do absolutely anything to. Wukong now going to be countering the play from Caracas. Lion of Grotto needs to pop W and get out, pop the locket. Wukong now dealing a lot of damage, will be going down, but gets a heal and is dealing so much damage here. Vladimir is able to get the shutdown, so that's pretty ideal for the side of ARAM. Lion of Grotto now going to be in the front, not able to do too much. His Caterpillar for now is out of spells and is going to go down, but the alley collects the shutdown. Killian now trying to fancy himself the rest of the fight. Diagoras will go down to the Ignite from Killian, so once again, that's paying off. Killian is going to be going in on top of the Jarvan. Use about 3 autos. A level up from the Jarvan from killing the ward is actually going to be the difference between him living or not, as Caracas is going to be the one collecting 2 of the shutdowns. It's a good play overall for the red team, but the Alistar collects so much of the gold there. Meanwhile, Ornn on the top side just continuing to enjoy himself. You can see that ARAM is considering whether or not they want to be able to actually go for this Autocon, but with Yunara not on the side of the map, does not seem like they'll be able to. Ali paid. Yo, let's see if Ali can carry this one. Karak is gonna go crazy on the cow. See red team pinging out on this Autocon. They might be feeling a little more confident now that they saw that they can win a potential fight. Really, it was just so odd numbered though for them. Ornn was not involved in the play at all. But it was good for them to be able to at least punish Caterpillar for now, not being able to have the cooldowns required to be able to actually make his way out of that play. Wukong did a lot, but just the rest of the Diddy Survivors not in position to be able to follow up means that there was at least that little bit of light. Jarvan is going to start up this Autocon. This might be the desperation play for the side of ARAM coming early. TP from the Vladimir will come through. He has no flash available, but does have that Hemoplague ready. Caracas now hunting away Lion of Grotto, but it's a little early. Does not really matter too much. 11k on the Autocon. Bleeding Wolves now here. Diagoras has to get away from him. Wukong now going in a little bit far ahead of his team. He might be going down very quickly. Indeed, he will be, but heals up quite a bit. So much damage coming through on the counterplay. Lion of Grotto now pushing forward. A nice knockup from the Poppy R. I really like that. As now Killian should be able to come through and clean everything up. The alley dies on the way in. Unfortunately, not able to 1v9 that fight. Killian now just going to be taking a lot of time to kill Diagoras, but the fight has been concluded already. That's going to be the Diddy Survivors able to clean up the fight. Killian is going to be getting a little low here, but should not be enough damage from Diagoras. Killian able to find himself 4 kills on that play, as Caterpillar for now will be working with Bleeding Wolves to just clean up some of those turrets. Bleeding Wolves doing a little dance on them. Caterpillar for now doing a little bit of bombing is going to just W, and you can see it. One team fight, and you know, Ziggs is a little bit of alone time with your base, you're losing everything. Autocon not necessary still. Lots of gold and lots of map control being taken by the side of the Diddy Survivors. 3 items on this Tristana before the Ziggs is even based. They're feeling really good about this. There's not even enough tempo on the map to be able to go for reply after Ziggs spent so much time there. He even has the TP, even if the side of ARAM wanted to really try to force on this Autocon right off of their spawns. Lionel Grotto also already on the job, clearing out the vision and the control of the red team. Should just be seeing the side of the Diddy Survivors just setting up control on this Autocon and taking it for themselves. Baron will be also up before too long, and when you have Ziggs Tristana, your setup on these objectives feels so damn good. Jarvan could go for a Miracle Steal, but they will not be going for that Hail Mary. Right now, it seems like Tristana might just be trying to post up on the bot side. They have a lot of control down here. But Ziggs is just going to try to make sure that they are staving off the push from the red team. Lion of Grotto trying to break that Jarvan EQ, but will not be able to quite do so. Tristana has also shifted over to the potential team fight that did not quite happen here. Third dragon of the game will be going over to them. Right now, all the control is there for the Diddy Survivors. They could take a slow and steady. They could accelerate the game. We'll just have to see how, they decide to play it. Wukong going in one more time. Kylon and 3LF both caught out. The carries for the red team going to be going down. Not long for this world. Really nice shockwave from Kylon, but it is too little too late as Jarvan's going in. Wants to be able to try to kill Killian. That's an Assassin Jarvan dealing 10 damage. Diagoras now, once again, 1v1 with the Mage Fighter Assassin rogue tank monster that is Ornn in the side lane. Brittle pop. There goes the Vladimir. Bleeding Wolves having himself a hell of a time on this Ornn right now. And this one is going to be an absolute stomp. The last game was so fun to watch, back and forth. This one was just very nice execution of a comp I love a lot. So in spite of this one being a stomp, good to see, you know, the Haymaker coming back from the side of the Diddy Survivors, as I have been correctly informed about their identity. And now we're going to be going to Game 3. Get ourselves a little damage check here. It's not necessary. These guys are going to be wanting to get ready for the Game 3 draft pretty quickly. Let me take us to intermission. I'm going to go ahead and clean up our scoreboard and make sure that I label these guys properly this time. My bad on that, guys, but we'll be back for Game 3 in just a minute. All right, Metashift, here we go for the Game 3 decider between the Diddy Survivors and an assembly of really aged men. Let me check and make sure I got sides correct here. Yeah, I do. ARAM's deciding to stay on the red side for Game 3. Identical bans to Game 2. And the dads are going to be going for Misfortune B1. Pretty solid again. Much like the Wukong pick. Strong overall champion. Pretty flexible. Hard to break. I like the Misfortune pick. Honestly, I've been seeing this champion do some disturbing amounts of damage with like its Hubris Collector into full crit builds. Even with the Yomos into Collector builds. It's insane with what this champion can do. And she's also just so good in lane. I mean, obviously you can still go for her like BT stuff. I just don't think her BT stuff is very impressive. But that lethality setup is really nice. Excuse me. ARAM going to be going for that Xayah. I don't really love Xayah into Misfortune. Mostly because Xayah needs long trades and Misfortune's really happy to like Q off of minions, Q auto trade her, and then just back off and then be pretty content with that. The only advantage Xayah really has is that she can press R during Misfortune's R and mitigate a lot of that damage and, you know, skirt out of the way. A lot of it will come down to support matchup once again, though, as most bot lane matchups do. Xayah is really looking for something that can elongate trades for her and catch out the Misfortune, as she is very immobile, well, aside from having high move speed. Misfortune is just maybe looking for a range support, maybe looking for something that can set up her R. There are quite a few options. ARAM also did go for that Sejuani Blind, commonly a pretty good jungler, but the Diddy Survivors recognizing they can just go for that Trundle, which, you know, if you press R on the Sejuani for the duration of her passive, you know, she goes in negative resistances, and then she is just made out of paper. The Diddy Survivors also going to go for that Syndra, which was closed, I believe, in the second phase of bans in the previous game. Also just like pretty solid blind, so far really good drafting, I would say, from the side of the Diddy Survivors. ARAM looking to try to find ways of being able to flesh out an identity for their composition. So far, just kind of short range, very front to backy, but obviously with adding an Akali, I like this champion here. Trundle can't really do too much to her because of the Shroud and her mobility, and Akali is a really big issue for things like Misfortune. A Syndra can be okay into it because if she's very good with her stuns and, you know, just being able to press R, Akali can't mitigate that. But in general, Akali, you know, is a horror for Misfortune and Syndra to deal with. So this is a very hype pick, I think, right now in R3. I really like it. And now ARAM does have the opportunity to ban away supports that might make it really hard for Akali to play. The Renata is one that I think is, like, you know, reasonable to go for there if they know, you know, your opponents play it. Especially considering you still have to pick your support and you're probably picking a melee support. Dad's wisely banning away that Rakan, not wanting the Xayah Rakan combo to come through, and Rakan's really nice with Akali, so good ban there from the Dads. And now ARAM getting rid of the Rel. I mean, yeah, Rel's really nice with MF. And also it's just like, engaged champions are such high value, because we're only 3 games of Fearless. You don't really run out of engaged supports in these series. You really only run out of engaged supports in BO5 Fearless. But, you know, things right now that are still open is like the Leona is like really notable here for the Dads to maybe pick up. So ARAM might actually drop their support pick to 5. But no, honestly, Pyke is interesting here because if you pick Leona as the Dads, it's good for Pyke. And as ARAM, you know that the Dads want to be able to pick something to set up the Misfortune R. What's open is Maokai. And Maokai is really nice into everything that ARAM is everything that ARAM is playing. We'll see if they're willing to play it though. Taric. Huh. I mean, Taric is nice for when Akali presses R, but Akali can also just kind of wait out Taric R. And Taric also does not have the ability to really stick to Pyke. I think Taric's great. I don't see it being a good pick this game. I think that's a bit of a mistake from the Dads. Obviously, they can prove me wrong once they actually get in the game if they have some way to play it. Because the other thing is that with Taric, you have no other champions to really connect to that set up the stun well. Yorick is interesting. The thing with Yorick is now there are opportunities to be able to, yeah, go for an R5 counter that's really good into Yorick. Aurelia would fit the bill. How does it do into the rest of the comp? I mean, Aurelia's pretty nice, honestly. Can just, like, turn on that DR into the Misfortune and the Syndra. Destroys Yorick. It's a very spicy composition overall from ARAM. But like I said, Aurelia would really fit the bill. It's great with Sejuani, too. Yeah, Andrew. ARAM is red again. They decided to stay on red side. The loser of game 2 gets to pick their side for game 3. Okay, so I was really liking the comp from Dads in the first 3. But after 4 or 5, I think ARAM has a very big advantage this game. I think Pyke really breaks this Misfortune Zaya matchup. I think Akali is very good into Syndra and Misfortune, and I also think that Aurelia is so good into Yorick, and crucially, she's also good into Syndra and Misfortune, and she's great with Sejuani. So I think ARAM is definitely coming into this game probably with the biggest draft advantage that we've seen in this series so far. I'm checking on my teams and client to see if they're ready to go, and they are indeed. Honestly, that's my major notes for this one. This will be a tough one for the Dads, I think. Especially because I'm looking in terms of scaling. And I don't really think that they're winning is in terms of scaling either. I think like one of the big things in a game like this is that the Pyke can end up being very low value if it's not played well, mostly because it just dies so easily into things like Syndra and Misfortune. Like, you get caught out one time, and you're just completely one-shot to just air. And that can sometimes make it pretty tough. It can make it feel like you're playing a 4v5, but if the lanes in the early to mid-game play out the way it's supposed to, Pyke value should be pretty good, but, you know, it's just one of those very skill-expressive, high-variance champions that you really just have to see how the individual performs on it, but it's just a pretty good spot for it. It even has, like, a couple of immobile carries they can go for. And, you know, the Trundle's pretty unhappy about ulting him. I'm trying to think of more to say, but unlike the other 2 drafts, this one's a little bit more cut and dry. I was looking for a bright spot for the Dads. Yeah, you know what? I don't really know. I'm thinking this one's pretty one-sided, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see. All comes down to execution. These guys are already picking their champions inside the client, so we'll be on a spectator delay for a little bit here, but as soon as we get in the game, I'll be right back with you guys. Once again, this is our Noble Division of Metashift. I'm your host, Mackie. This is the Diddy Survivors on the blue side, and an assembly of really aged men on the red side. I think I said that right. I'll be right back. Alright, Metashift. I'm back a little bit quicker on this one. Usually I'll wait to set up the settings, but we got a pike in this game, so I gotta try to get us set up pretty quick here. Yeah, I see Caterpillar for now on the Misfortune already pinging out pike. Let's see. Super greedy build from Bleeding Wolves as well. Those are fillable long into Aurelia is kind of crazy. I like this path. They're posting up and try. They're not going to find them. They will get some deep wards, though. What else am I missing? OBJ timers. Yeah, okay, I think we're good. Cool. Unfortunately for ARAM, it doesn't really matter all too much with these deep wards. Sejuani can't do too much to Trundle in the early skirmishes. Though I do want to say, I do like how Sejuani did go for the phase rush here. I think it's very wise. If you go Aftershock Sejuani, something like this, you actually can just end up like ultra negative your resistances. Because, you know, you get the Aftershock procs, Trundle presses R on you, and then it's really cooked. But in this case, going phasey is pretty smart. Should give her the opportunity to be able to disengage the Trundle when she needs to. Both junglers starting on top side, recognizing bot side is going to be pure chaos. Caracas is going to be able to find the first hook on the Lion of Grotto. Lion of Grotto not going to be able to find the first stun on the Caracas. But as you can see, Caterpillar for now has much better short trades than 3LF. So in spite of Caracas playing that trade well, not a lot that 3LF can do to help him there. We got to keep our eyes on bot and top this game. The red side is going to be looking to go crazy in both exchanges. Caracas able to find one more. 3LF dropping 30 damage with that auto attack. I want to keep my eyes on top here, see how Diagoras is able to play this out, one-shotting the ghouls. Meanwhile, Lion of Grotto did get caught out. The Ignite is dropped. Will be able to get out. It does heal from that level 2 pop. Meanwhile, looking back on top side, Bleeding Wolves now fighting back with Diagoras. Trundle going to be making his way on the top side. Diagoras does have that flash available, but does not have their level 3 yet. Flashing the Trundle Pillar will just be going down unless Sejuani can do anything about it. They will not, and therefore Diagoras is going to have their initial control of the game broken. Though I will say, as 3LF finds a really nice Xayah root there, but takes a turret shot for their troubles. Both AD carry. Oh wow, Caracas finding a really nice flash pull, but once again, Caterpillar for now and Lion of Grotto both barely slinking away. Meanwhile, Trundle going from top to mid to just try to find a World Tour little gank right here, but Kylon a little too mobile on the Akali. Diagoras did TP back in the top side and wants to fix their wave state. And now Sejuani just a little bit behind the pace of the game. Did the same 3 top camps into run top, but was not able to do anything there. Was not able to do anything mid. Is just going to walk into bot river though. So for right now, Sejuani definitely getting the worst of the jungle matchup. Trundle making a bigger impact in the map so far. Even so, with just a little bit of gold in York's pocket, does make their life a little easier to have for Aurelia not to have their flash. But the Aurelia still is going to be quite problematic just because of how skewed the matchup is. See these autos being dropped, Bleeding Wolves. Ooh, no mana, but Diagoras missing on that stun. You do have to question, you know, how are the hands for ARAM this game? These are very aged men that we were talking about playing Aurelia and Pike in Game 3. So, you know, you're going to have to at least question how that's going to go. But for right now, ooh, really nice stun. Okay, so we need to stop questioning as Caracas and 3LF showing their stuff on bot side. Trundle rolling up, has the flash available, and the Pike will go down. Sejuani now trying to set up the stun, has the phasey pop. Trundle is going to be taking a lot of damage. 3LF not able to do so well on that Xayah pull. Now this guy's got tempo, but has no more E. And this Trundle is just become a very big problem. Caracas going down immediately, and then Sejuani and 3LF not really lining up their CC combo onto that Trundle well enough. The Taric also being able to find their moment right there. The Trundle finding 3 early kills is going to make this guy so demonic to deal with. Like I said in pregame, I feel like the draft was pretty one-sided, but it all comes down to execution. And in spite of the fact that 3LF and Caracas have been doing a pretty good job of making Caterpillar for now's life pretty hard, you know, Trundle has been just in the right place in the right time. Diagoras needs to be able to fix his wave state before the level 6 comes through. Once that happens, if the wave state's not in a good spot, the Aurelia is going to have a hard time at least fighting through the Maiden. Obviously, Aurelia does great with the ghouls, but the Maiden can present a lot of problems. It's not really the wave state that you want to see as Aurelia. You would have liked to have seen Sejuani be able to help out the Aurelia right here to be able to actually fix this wave state. The stun does land, but I don't know if it's enough damage. We'll have to see. One more Q would get it done. The auto does come through, and Diagoras, once again, making me eat my words, doing a good job of fighting that solo kill. Jungle intervention for what? Trundle now has the pillar, but no flash. Diagoras starts the recall. A good pillar will confirm this kill. Trundle has 4 kills in this early game. Going to be a very fast Triforce for this Trundle. You see 3LF pinging out this bounty on the Trundle already. We're 6 minutes into the game. This guy is a 375. Ooh, but he's a little overextended. Oh, that's really bad timing for the Trundle. Level 5, Pylon's level 6. Pylon not really finding a good execution right there. Give it to the Akali, and that's a big mistake from the side of the Diddy Survivors jungler right there. We did see kind of the similar issue in game 1. They would get like a really big advantage for themselves through good play, and then just would be a little bit too excited, I suppose. Just walking forward there was not the timer you wanted, especially in light of the fact that this Pyke is busy on the map. Bot won't be dope. We need to see the Pyke right now, who misses just barely on Killian. So Xayah contentedly farming underneath her turret. The Akali feeling very good, and obviously when Caterpillar for now and Killian see this Akali collecting gold like that, you're kind of shaking. Don't really want to see Akali picking up an extra 600 gold off a kill in the early game, getting to that Proto Belt also quickly. The Dragon is now going to be the thing both teams are thinking about. You can see Caracas wants to post up on this Taric again, as Diagoras is now starting to get to that point where it really is very obnoxious for the Yorick to deal with. He hasn't been too sharp with those stuns yet, but still has a little bit of time to be able to shake off the rust. You can see Sejuani's hovering right here at the same time that Trundle is just farming away on top side. This guy will be... It does really want to try to find that Triforce early. He can be the difference in a lot of these early game team fights. Trundle is so early skewed. Also just keeping an eye on this Aurelia, as Caracas just narrowly misses out on the line of Grotto. We did talk about how the Misfortune has a generally nice short trade matchup into the Xayah. Right now, this Misfortune's looking pretty anemic. Able to get a little PTE proc right there, though. Trundle and Bleeding Wolves able to leverage their 2v2 to be able to pick up these early grubbies. Gonna get all 3. Pylon not having ultimate, probably the biggest distinction that has influenced the red team to not want to go for these. They are just going to drop it, as also Diagoras is making a freeze on top side. You do want to see Sejuani making her way over to the Aurelia right here so they can fight their 2v2. This is going to be a very explosive moment that matters a lot for the game. The stun does come through. The Aurelia now is going to have to look for her ultimate. It does have that DR available. She does want to turn with the Sejuani right now, but the Trundle wants to be able to finish off the Aurelia before she can do too much, but the Aurelia got so much damage done. Can the Sejuani finish this off? She has Phase Rush, and they is going to go down, but now can she finish off the Yorick? Is going to be able to just barely do so, and the Maiden will not trade it back. So that 2v2, where are the kills going over? The Trundle did finish off the Aurelia and finish off that Triforce. Sejuani not able to fix the wave quite for Diagoras, but has their TP so they can do it themselves. Sejuani breathing a sigh of relief. That 2v2 was looking quite close, but Diagoras did what they needed to do. Just maximize their damage before they went down. Kylon has ulti again. It does have that Proto Belt, so Kylon is actually very threatening here. Line of Grotto not able to line up that stun. The red team has pretty good control on this Drake right now. You see Killian's damage is pretty negligible. Doesn't really seem like a fight that the blue team really should be wanting to take right now. Caracas having R, Kylon having R, but but Trundle does have Triforce. Karakas hooks in the Trundle, and Karakas will go down, but Sejuani now is in an okay spot as Trundle will be going down to the Akali, and let me tell you, this Syndra is not going to be able to do too much of this Akali right here. Syndra just getting out of the fight as the rest of the fight is raging. Caterpillar for now and Line of Grotto want to try to find a better position. They are going to link up with Killian right here, but Kylon, 3LF, Sejuani, all just going to start the dragon again. Killian has to try to find another stun set up for Caterpillar for now. Really nice from Lion of Grotto. The 3LF flashing forward with the Xayah ultimate. Caterpillar for now a little bit out of damage, but Sejuani will go down. 3LF now out of resources as Karakas is coming back through. Karakas has the ultimate. He could have a Pyke moment. He was able to find the Q. He's not popped the R just yet, as maybe he doesn't have it. I got spectator delayed, or maybe he just missed it and I missed that he missed it. Either way, Karakas coming back through and breaking the play. We don't know if they're going to fancy themselves starting up the dragon. It seems like they just want to fix their waves and find a reset. But either way, off the backside of Karakas respawning and running back there does go for the direction of the Association of Really Aged Men over to Diddy Survivors in that first initial fight. But the dragon goes to no one. Just a lot of posturing for right now. Diagoras needs to be careful not to get a little bit too ahead of himself. 2 turret shots, 3 turret shots, 4 turret shots, 5 turret shots were taken by Diagoras in the process of killing him. It is worth it though. You can see this entire minion wave up here going down. Bleeding Wolves will not be able to collect any of that. And now Aurelia's full build, guys. So that's great. Trundle going to look for this pillar. Kylon's feeling okay though. Again, very mobile, hard to lock her down. There was a really nice moment there for the Lion of Grotto setting up that Misfortune ulti that made it possible for the Diddy Survivors to be able to play that fight. Kylon was proto-belting just to stop the base. Might have to ulti out just to try to escape the moment. Does indeed do so. That's very big for the Diddy Survivors, but 3LF is trying to find his own advantage on this side of the map. Caterpillar for now is going to get stunned up, and Lion of Grotto lines up another good one on 3LF, who does not quite have their Xayah ultimate. Misses on the E on the Lion of Grotto, but lives with 1 HP, and that is so frustrating if you are the side of the Diddy Survivors. Lion of Grotto doing a really good job mechanically lining up these stuns on the Taric, but just not enough to be able to finish off 3LF, who did not quite have their ultimate back yet. But even so, he has to reset, so it's still not the dragon going down. See Diagoras setting up another freeze on top side. When you're Yorick in this spot, there's sometimes not too much that it feels like you can do. You see he's trying to go for a proxy probably right here, because he just knows there's nothing he can do to break this freeze. He has no Triforce, and he knows Aurelia's full build. He also just doesn't have a lot of good ways of breaking this wave. He's just going to summon the Maiden and use his ghouls to proxy this wave. I do like this from Bleeding Wolves. This is pretty much his only option. Diagoras can collapse on this with Sejuani though, but to be honest, this is, you know, as good as he can do. He's kind of flipping that the jungler wasn't going to be here. Can he get away is the big question. His terrain was creating a bit of an issue there. Bleeding Wolves is trying to maybe think about another proxy, but right now is just trying to disengage. He's not going to be able to catch the wave, so he will be going down. But in the meantime, what is going to happen on the other side of the map is the big question. The blue team, the Diddy Survivors, are going to be trying to set up this Drake, as the York does an amazing job of finding that execute. He's created so much tempo, time, and space for his team to be able to set up on this dragon. Finally, the first dragon of the game will be going down at the same time that Kylon is able to find the E on a Killian, but it will not matter. Panning back over, Trundle is trying to find a play on a Karakas, but Lion of Grotto was not linked up with the Trundle. 3LF doing a good job of finding damage there. But it seems like everyone is just going to back off for now. Bleeding Wolves really taking a very bad situation though and making the most of it there. Really impressed with you know, how the team leveraged him just doing what he had to do again in just a really doomed spot. He got his anti-heal and Triforce off of that. He doesn't have his ulti anymore, but honestly, he's feeling pretty good about how all that turned out for him and his team. Ooh, Karakas needed to hit that one. It was a very free hook on the Lion of Grotto that would have been a lot of damage. 3LF is pushing forward, trying to bait out the enemy bot lane since Sejuani's in his pocket right now. Caterpillar for now. Lion of Grotto will not bite. You see blue pings coming out. Lion of Grotto is sus, but they want the wave. Do they have the patience? Karakas lining up the Pyke Q, is able to hit it. Sejuani gonna line up the stun. Misfortune is going to pop the ulti. Oh, wow. That Sedge ulti doesn't connect on the stun. That's crazy. But they can go for the dive right now. Trundle is going to just try to counter and trade on the top side of the map. Caterpillar for now should get completely pushed off this, but is wise enough not to end up dying there. Maybe first turret going down. I'm not sure they have enough damage. They have no grubs. This Kylon is getting a little bullied right now, but it's 3-0 on the Akali. As long as this guy doesn't die, he's going to be feeling very good moving into team fights. Diagoras needs to land the stun, was able to do so, has the ultimate available. Aurelia is full build, and that means Yorick is dead. However, Trundle was able to at least finish off the Herald. He is now going to make his way in the top side right here. I mean, he would win the ones with this Aurelia right now. Pop the pillar, use the Q, dodge the W. Okay, pop the ult. He does get stunned, but I think he should just win the ones. Oh, Diagoras is not able to survive there with Sejuani helping out. Caracas comes through to pick up the Trundle. Not sure if that's really worth it. I mean, the red team obviously had enough time to be able to reply. Caracas is going to be able to get more quickly towards the second lethality item, which can feel pretty nice on Pyke. Being able to get the Edge of Night against this team would be really meaningful. Now this guy is Mach 9 going in on mid. Killian needs to dodge out, but finds a nice stun on the Caracas. Maybe he can kill. It's very close. One more auto. No, it doesn't even need it. Gets it done as 3LF is now all by his lonesome. Almost one-shots the Misfortune all by themselves. Pings the Vision ping just out of a little bit of frustration there, knowing that the Misfortune was so close to dying. That armor probably just from Tarek pressing W on Misfortune, making enough of a difference for Caterpillar for now not to die there. And so some really nice plays from Killian and the boss side of the Diddy Survivors to make sure that this game is staying very tight and very close. What is this item from Aurelia? Hullbreaker? I think it's Hullbreaker. Xayah wants her ulti back before she actually fights the next objective. We got 130 on an Earth Drake coming up in this game. Our gold is dead even. Let's see where our advantages really lie, though. Aurelia has a big one. Sejuani a little behind the Trundle, but, you know, to be expected. Not too big of a deal. Caracas' top side with Diagoras so that they're able to break that top side. Surprisingly, Syndra actually, after shutting down Caracas, has themselves a pretty nice gold lead. We did talk about how sometimes Hubris Misfortune is the angle this game. They did opt for the BT. And they're a little behind the Xayah, but not so much so that it really matters. Trundle now wants to just start trying to take this mid turret. Line of Grotto is just going to help out his jungler and make sure that happens. Trying to see what kind of reply can come through from ARAM, but this should just be a free mid play. This Herald take paying off for this mid lane tier 1 take. Caracas now trying to line up another stun. Pretty tough though. Caterpillar for now is very fast, and so mid game it's a lot harder to line up these stuns. 3LF has no flash. Caracas is able to just slide away. No stun coming through from 3LF. They do want to try to get their Navori before they're really ready to start fighting really hard. Highline will not die to that, but it's a good chunk out from Killian at the very least. Good use of that first strike. However, Kylon is going to be able to come back with full HP unless the blue team is able to rush down this dragon. Oh wow, line of Grotto, another good lineup on that stun. But Caracas is just too damn fast. It's hard to lock down this champion without the Syndra being ready to play. Kylon has no TP, and so for right now, really good stuff inside of the Diddy Survivors. We'll have to see how the rest of the team fight plays out, though, as right now, Bleeding Wolves is first on the play. Akali is nowhere to be seen. The stun lines up and does hit. Caracas is trying to get out of the play. The Xayah is going to go down immediately. The freaking Yorick just one-shots her, puts her in a cage, and says goodnight. And right now, the Diddy Survivors are just purely outplaying ARAM on the map. Really good stuff from Killian to chunk out Kylon. And a good presence from the rest of the team to just rush down that dragon before there can be really any reply. In spite of some struggles in lane at times, Bleeding Wolves making his presence felt on the game. Sometimes it's not about winning your lane, it's about making winning plays throughout the game. Although this Aurelia is in a very good spot with the Hullbreaker, it can sometimes be hard to make enough of a difference through side lane with this champion. And in spite of Akali's early lead, you know, a lot of their gold lead is just evaporated. They're down like 1.5k to the Syndra now. The Syndra is actually starting to look really dangerous. Killian is in a great position to carry the game for the side of the Diddy Survivors. A really nice game on the Tristana as well, and right now, Syndra's scaling into an absolute beast. Diagoras needs to get a lot of work done on this top side. Otherwise, their team might just be forfeiting. Trundle also getting caught out just once again. This is a big issue, but the line of Grotto ultimate is going to buy a lot of time. Now, the Sejuani who got ulted is just so squishy. You can see the Aurelia is going to be all TPing into the play. Don't really love this. Diagoras now popping the ulti, has DR, is going to be taking so much damage now and drops it early, so will be going down, but Kylon is on the backside along with 3LF. Killian, though, is here. Oh, wow, 3LF has a really nice Xayah ultimate, but does not connect on the E. Kylon now needs to try to finish off Killian. Kylon will not go back in. Trundle is full HP. Is this going to start beating down Kylon? Man, there was a moment there for 3LF where they were looking really good, but Xayah on 1.5 items just not able to do enough. Mechanically good, but just not in the right time, in the right place, having enough gold to be able to make the difference. I think to a lesser degree, ARAM just forgetting themselves, forgetting that Diagoras just needs to stay in side lane permanently this game, as Kylon now is going to go back forward, but has no Akali ultimate. Proto Belt, QE going in, Bleeding Wolves now in a good spot to fight Kylon. Kylon has no more spells available, can't finish off anyone. That's such desperation from the side of ARAM. Killian now going to set up a stun, and a little collection for the Syndra is putting Diddy Survivors firmly in control of this game. Otacon, 2 dragons, so much gold pouring into their pockets off of a one team fight. It's starting to look dire. And to echo the Twitch chat once again, Taric ulti looking broken. That was good stuff. You know, we did talk about how it seemed like the Diddy Survivors jungler sometimes gets a little bit too far ahead, but, you know, Taric ulti is a good way to remedy that problem. 3LF now going to be trying to line up another stun. Very inconsistent with these Xayah stuns overall. Line of Grotto not going to be able to connect on that one. Sejuani ulti will also be cleansed away. Trundle now looking to go in. I don't know if the phase rush is up. It will not matter right now. There's still opportunities for the side of ARAM to be able to play. They're not that far behind. We've seen how game one swung back and forth so many times. They do need to remember they need Kylon and Diagoras to be able to do most of their work in sides. But right now, Bleeding Wolves has just reached that point on Yorick where he's no longer so abusable for the Aurelia. And that's always really the big problem with picking this champion, is if you don't really snowball your early advantage well, the Aurelia starts looking all not that useful anymore. 3LF is really out of position as well here, by the way. Putting it nicely, that was a bit of an int. And so 3LF can lose their flash and their ultimate, as Caracas is also just feeling completely disoriented, just going to get one shot by the Syndra, who is his greatest adversary this game. The remainder of ARAM just needs to get out of the play. Sejuani, nice little sidestep there, but overall still obviously great from the Diddy Survivors to be able to continue to control this game. Bot tier 2 going down. Trundle, Killian, Lionel Grotto, Caterpillar for now, looking to continue to assert their advantage. 3 grubs in tow. Doesn't want that inhibitor just yet. Maybe just doesn't want the smoke with the team fight, but it feels like they could have taken it if they wanted it. Caracas not going to be able to find hook right there. This Trundle with that Dead Man's Plate and that W is way too damn fast. Killian now in position, moving in behind the rest of the team. Probably not a great fight for the red team to be taking here. Probably should just concede, but we'll have to see if they can make some magic happen. Lion of Grotto now in the front line. Caracas finding a 3-man stun into his death. Kylon now in the back line. The Shroud is down, trying to wait out that Taric ultimate. You can see Trundle is just rampaging through the enemy team. 3LF is dealing no damage per auto to this Trundle. Was able to find a root and pop the ulti, but now Trundle's just going to waltz his way up, and you can see this guy is just a titan on the Rift right now. The jungler for the Diddy Survivors just dancing on their grave, taking up turret shots, no cares in the world. Going to knock over some more structures. You can see Bleeding Wolves understands the assignment, just chilling on the side. just nullifying Diagoras to be able to do absolutely anything, and his boys are going to take care of the rest. Trundle has once again found himself a Xayah. As the line of Grotto flashes forward, his summons cleansed away, but he's so damn tanky. The Xayah is not looking like it deals really any damage at all. Line of Grotto really genuinely looking good on the Taric. Wasn't like an easy Taric game to play by any means, but is making it work for themselves. Sejuani wants to go for a steal, but instead is just going to dive in for the fight with the Aurelia as well as the Akali. Line of Grotto finding another really nice stun right there. Caracas finding another really nice stun right there. And out of nowhere, the side of ARAM wins the fight. Pylon's not able to quite find that E because his Trundle is so fast, but I guess it's just because Killian wasn't there. And so seeing an opportunity, a narrow window to be able to make a play, the red team dives in and is able to actually win. However, Killian as well as Trundle are still here to try to make the most of the situation. 3LF is trying to come back into the moment as Caracas is trying to zone away the Trundle. Killian could one-shot anybody, but is very nervous about getting turned on. The Sejuani is down. Can the Baron still be secured? The Baron's regenerating all their HP, and I think Killian has done it. It seems like they will go down, but maybe the Trundle's able to finish off the prey. 3LF is here and is trying to find some redemption and deal a little bit of damage. Finally is able to kill something and will get the shutdown on the Trundle. I mean, Killian still did prevent that Baron from going down though, finishing off the Sejuani. No one else on the side of ARAM was prepared to soak up the aggro from the Baron to make sure that it wasn't able to start regenning. And so what seemed like the moment to come back into the game is averted and thwarted by Killian coming back into the play. He wasn't there for the initial fight, but he was there to just make sure that the tides of the game do not turn so much. I think this time the Diddy survivors will be a little bit more careful about how they approach this play. That was a little bit too close for comfort. This Akali finishes off this Banshee's Veil. We'll have to see. Like I said, it's going to take a little bit of magic from ARAM to be able to win this one. But this Akali, you know, from the beginning was going to be one of these really threatening champions. Seems like she's just purely itemizing to be able to deal with Killian. The Zhonya's is... Oh, well, actually, yeah, the Zhonya's is coming first before any sort of MR. The Zhonya's is really good for obviously being able to mitigate the Syndra ulti from being able to kill her too easily. This is the point of the game where I was envisioning the Akali becoming really problematic. She's 2 damage items in. She has her Zhonya's done. She's able to deal enough damage to threaten you, and if you ever try to turn on her, she can just Zhonya's the Misfortune ulti, Zhonya's the Syndra ulti, and then she's just able to actually play out the rest of the fight from there. With a little bit of magic resistance being built, I have to imagine this is going to be Banshees, just so that way they can for sure survive the Syndra ulti. Not sure if that's actually the best move. We'll have to see. As right now, Caracas, one of the things you see with Pyke, is that this guy continues to be able to look for hooks whenever he wants to. The problem being, his hooks are a little bit less lethal right now. Everybody's kind of healthy enough to be able to survive the initial burst damage from the Pyke and also potentially turn on him and kill him. Right now, everybody's posting up, though, that the NARAM is really, truly beginning right now. You really do still want to see Diagoras and Kylon in side lanes trying to play out this game, but Bleeding Wolves right now is the only one who got the memo, pushing out, trying not to get caught. Really surprising start from the red team right here. Diagoras has a flank 3-0 left. He is going to be trying to post up on the enemy team who's coming through, but right now Killian's just able to really tee off on whoever they want to, and that's the big issue, is that Killian's position is really good right here. They might turn on the Bleeding Wolves as the fight is starting on both sides. Diagoras is going to go down quite easily here. The Aurelia ultimate does come through. How many cooldowns can he get out? Okay, the Aurelia goes down freely, as well as the fact that the Pike goes down pretty freely. The Sejuani not having any sort of follow-up means that this is not going to work for the red team. This was just such a haphazard and sort of random play from the red team. They're sort of in a moment where it's felt like they could try to find some way back into the game, but you don't really want to fight a team fighting team when you're a side laning team, and also you're not really in control. So they just kind of flip and start the Baron and hope something happens, but that was not really what you wanted to do, as 3LF attacks really fast and is able to get the kill, but the ultimate from Misfortune is just going to finish that off. That's probably just the game. Let's see. Karakas will be up, Diagoras will be up, but Diagoras has no ultimate available. And 3 grubbies means that all these structures are going to go down very quickly. It could be that the Diddy Survivors are just going to look for the end right here. Lina Grotto still has that Taric ultimate. There should be no reason they can't end the game here. Caterpillar for now, going to take first structure. Sejuani, Karakas, Diagoras going to breathe their last breath right here, as the Diddy Survivors are just going to all in the Nexus along with that Taric ultimate, and in a really surprising moment at the end of that game, at the very least. It's going to be the Diddy Survivors really looking very dominant in Game 2 and Game 3 after what was a very back and forth and chaotic Game 1. I can't quite recall what happened with them in the previous week. I think they might have lost, so if so, you know, promising bounce back from these guys. They definitely look like they woke up after that Game 1. That Game 2 was an absolute stomp, and this one, in spite of the fact that I thought there was a lot of compositional advantages for the side of ARAM, you know, the Diddy Survivors making it work for themselves. Lina Grotto looked really good on the Taric. The Trundle was a big problem. Killian scaled so well. Bleeding Wolves found his footing after, you know, a really difficult matchup, really, more than anything. And Caterpillar for now was there. Just joking. He played great too, obviously. Let's see, in-game, post-game. Here we go. That is not my picture. I say once again, I'll fix that for the next stream. I'll briefly reach out for a short interview if these guys want to go for it. And if not, we'll call it there. But I'll be right back, and I'll say our farewells if they don't want an interview.